What's up, fight fans? We just wrapped up UFC 316, and let me tell you, this card delivered some absolute shockers and incredible performances. I'm still trying to process some of these results, and trust me, you're gonna want to hear my take. Let's dive in. Let's start with what might be, for me, the most shocking result of the entire night. Kevin Holland submits Vicente Luque. Let me say that again so it sinks in. Kevin Big Mouth Holland, the guy known for his striking, his unorthodox style, and talking throughout his fights, just submitted one of the most durable, respected, and dangerous veterans in the welterweight division. I mean, who saw this coming? If you tell me you predicted a Kevin Holland submission win over Vicente Luque, I'm sorry, but I might have to call you a liar. This was absolutely out of left field, and it was beautiful to watch. The narrative was clear. Holland needed to keep this on the feet, use his range, and avoid the ground at all costs. But that's not what happened, is it? He didn't just survive on the ground. He initiated, he scrambled, he actively hunted for the submission, and he got it. A Darce choke, no less. It wasn't a fluke, it wasn't a lucky catch. It was a slick, well-executed submission against a legitimate BJJ black belt. I have to give all the credit in the world to Kevin Holland. The grit about Vicente Luque, you have to feel for the guy. He's all heart, one of the toughest fighters on the entire roster. He never backs down from a fight, and he always brings it. He looked good on the feet, landing some heavy shots as he always does, but he got caught. It happens in this sport. This is a tough loss for him, no doubt about it, and it puts him in a difficult position in the division. But if I know anything about the silent assassin, it's that he will be back. He's a warrior through and through, and this is a setback, not the end of the road for him. This fight was a perfect example of why MMA is the greatest sport in the world. The narrative was written, the experts had made their picks, and then Kevin Holland walks in there and rips up the script. He showed us something new, something we didn't know he had in his arsenal. He wasn't just fighting to win, he was fighting to make a statement, and that statement was a legitimate threat to anyone at 170 pounds, and I for one am incredibly excited to see what's next for him. What a way to kick off the main card. It set the tone for a night of surprises. Mario Bautista, on the other hand, deserves a ton of credit. He fought a perfect fight. He knew what Mix's game plan was, and he executed his own strategy flawlessly. He used his footwork, maintained the distance, and never let Mix get a clean entry for a takedown. His jab was on point, he was mixing up his combinations to the head and body, and he showed that he belongs in the top tier of this division. The UFC bantamweight division is a shark tank, and tonight, Patchy Mix learned that the hard way. I hope he takes this loss as a lesson, makes the necessary adjustments, and comes back a much better fighter. The potential is still there, but the work has to be put in. Now let's move on to a performance that was the polar opposite of disappointing. Joe Pyfer versus Kelvin Gastelum. My goodness, we all knew Joe Bodybags Pyfer had power. We've seen it on the Contender Series, we've seen it in his UFC fights. But to see him do what he did to a veteran like Kelvin Gastelum was something else entirely. This wasn't just a win, this was a statement. This was an absolute mauling from start to finish, and it solidified Pyfer as a legitimate, scary contender in the middleweight division. He looked incredible tonight. The fight started, and almost immediately, boom. Pyfer drops Gastelum with a massive right hand. I mean, he sat him down hard. I thought the fight was over right there. You have to give credit to the toughness and the heart of Kelvin Gastelum for surviving that initial onslaught. He's been in there with champions, he's taken huge shots before, and his chin held up as best it could. But he was hurt badly, and from that moment on, he was just in survival mode. Pyfer was all over him, relentless with the pressure. What impressed me most about Pyfer wasn't just the power, but the composure he showed after the knockdown. A younger, less experienced fighter might have emptied the gas tank trying to get the finish right away. But Pyfer stayed calm, he picked his shots, and he didn't get reckless. He was methodical in his beatdown. He was landing heavy shots to the body, mixing in kicks, and just breaking Gastelum down piece by piece. It was a mature, intelligent, and utterly dominant performance. He looked like a seasoned veteran in there, not just a rising prospect. This was supposed to be the biggest test of Joe Pyfer's career. Kelvin Gastelum is a former interim title challenger, a guy who has fought the who's who of the middleweight and welterweight divisions. This was the fight that was going to tell us if the Pyfer hype was real. Well, the results are in, and the hype is absolutely real. He didn't just pass the test, he aced it. He made a world-class fighter like Gastelum look like he didn't belong in the same cage with him. That's how good Pyfer was tonight. For Kelvin Gastelum, this is a really tough spot to be in. He's now lost a number of fights in a row, and he took a lot of damage tonight. He's still relatively young, but he has a lot of miles on his body. He's been in so many wars. You have to wonder what's next for him. Does he consider a move back to welterweight? Does he take some significant time off? These are the hard questions he and his team will have to answer. He's a warrior, and my respect for him is immense. But tonight was a clear passing of the torch. The middleweight division has a new monster on its hands, and his name is Joe Pyfer. After a performance like that, you have to be talking about a top 10, maybe even a top 5 opponent for him next. He has the power to knock out anyone in the division, he has the killer instinct, and tonight, he showed he has the fight IQ to go with it. I am fascinated to see how he fares against the elite of the division. Paulo Costa, Jared Cannonier, sign me up for any of it. Joe Pyfer is no longer a prospect, he is a problem. Wow, I am honestly in a state of shock right now. We have a new UFC Women's Bantamweight champion and her name is Kayla Harrison. I think many of us expected her to win. She was the betting favorite. She's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in judo, a 2-time PFL champion. We knew she was good, but I don't think anyone, and I mean anyone, expected the level of dominance we just witnessed against a warrior like Juliana Pena. This was supposed to be her toughest test, the fight that would truly legitimize her in the eyes of the MMA world. She didn't just win, she completely and utterly dismantled the former champion. From the moment the fight started, you could see the physical disparity. Kayla looked bigger, stronger, and more powerful. Her clinch game was on another level entirely. She got a hold of Pena, and from there, it was basically over. The takedowns were effortless. She wasn't just taking Pena down, she was slamming her to the canvas with authority. It was a display of raw physical power and world-class judo that we have rarely seen inside the octagon, especially in the women's divisions. Juliana Pena is known for her toughness, her grit, and her submission game off her back. She's the Venezuelan vixen, a fighter who thrives in chaos and has a will that is almost impossible to break. But tonight, she had no answers. On the ground, Kayla Harrison was just suffocating. The top pressure, the ground and pound, it was relentless. Pena is a black belt, but she was made to look like a white belt in there. Kayla transitioned smoothly, controlled the positions, and when the opportunity for the submission came, she locked it in tight. An arm triangle choke to become the new world champion. I have to admit, I had my doubts about Kayla. Could she make the weight cut to 135 pounds effectively? How would her striking look against a UFC caliber opponent? How would she handle the pressure of a UFC title fight? She answered every single one of those questions tonight with an exclamation point. We have a new dominant champion who looks for all intents and purposes unstoppable. Who can challenge her? Who has the wrestling or the judo to stop those takedowns? Who has the strength to deal with her in the clinch? Honestly, looking at the top of the division right now, I don't see an obvious answer. This feels like the beginning of the Kayla Harrison era, and it's a scary prospect for the rest of the bantamweights. My hat is off to Juliana Pena for her heart. She never quit. She fought until the very end, as she always does, into a buzzsaw. She ran into a generational talent, an athlete of a different caliber. For Kayla Harrison, this is the culmination of her entire journey, from Olympic gold to UFC gold. It's an incredible story, and tonight she proved that the hype was real. All hail the new queen at 135 pounds. The division has been officially put on notice. And now, for the main event of the evening, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili for the undisputed Bantamweight Championship. This was the classic striker versus grappler matchup. The precision and power of Sugar Sean against the relentless cardio machine wrestling of Merab the Machine Dvalishvili, and tonight the machine was simply too much. Merab Dvalishvili put on an absolute masterclass, a career-defining performance to become the undisputed champion of the world. What we witnessed was pure, unadulterated dominance. From the very first round, Merab executed his game plan to perfection. He gave O'Malley no space to breathe, no room to set up his flashy kicks or his sniper-like right hand. He was constantly pressuring, constantly feinting, and constantly shooting for takedowns. Sean's takedown defense is good. He stuffed a lot of the initial attempts, but that's the thing about Merab. He doesn't care. He will shoot for 20 takedowns to land one. His pace is something we have never seen before. He just breaks people with his relentless pressure, and that's exactly what he did to Sean O'Malley. As the fight wore on, you could see it taking a toll on O'Malley. Every stuffed takedown still required energy. Every time he had to fight his way back to his feet, a little more gas left the tank. Merab was like the tide, just constantly coming in, and eventually, the dam broke. In the third round, Merab finally got the fight to the ground in a dominant position, and he was not going to let O'Malley up. He transitioned beautifully, took the back, and sunk in the rear naked choke. Sean O'Malley, one of the most talented strikers in the sport, was forced to tap. This is a legacy-defining win for Merab Dvalishvili. For so long, people questioned if his style could win a 5-round title fight against an elite finisher. They wondered if he could take the big shots from someone like O'Malley. Tonight, he answered all those questions. He showed that his chin is solid, and more importantly, that his style is not just effective, it's championship winning. He's the best bantamweight in the world, and there is no longer any debate. He earned this belt through sheer hard work, determination, and an unbreakable will. You have to feel for Sean O'Malley. He's a superstar and he'll be back. He's too talented not to be. But tonight, he ran into a stylistic nightmare. There's no shame in losing to a fighter like Merab. O'Malley is still young and he can learn from this. He'll need to go back and work on his grappling, his ability to get up from the bottom, and his cardio for a 5-round wrestling-heavy fight. But his time at the top is far from over. This is just a chapter in his story, not the end of it. But tonight is all about Merab Dvalishvili. From having to hold back from fighting his friend and teammate Aljamain Sterling, to finally getting his shot and making the absolute most of it. It's an incredible story of perseverance. The emotion he showed after the win, you can see how much this meant to him and his country of Georgia. He is a worthy champion, a fighter who embodies the spirit of a warrior. An unbelievable dominant performance. So there you have it, my raw reactions to UFC 316. What a night of fights, full of surprises and some truly incredible performances. This card will have ripple effects for a long time to come. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you all thought. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the card. What was your biggest shocker? Who impressed you the most? Let's get the conversation started down below. I'll be reading through and replying to as many as I can. These post-fight discussions are one of my favorite parts of being a fan. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the breakdown, and please subscribe to the channel for more fight breakdowns, analysis, and reactions.